Welcome back to Real Clear Politics on Sirius XM. I'm Andrew Walworth. I'm here with Sean Trendy and Carl Cannon. And guys, yesterday we talked about public support for Trump's plans to deport illegal immigrants with criminal records. But Sean, there's a more controversial idea, and that is this idea of revoking birthright citizenship, which is, as we know, covered in the Constitution. Constitution basically says that if you're born within the boundaries of the U.S., you are automatically a citizen. So Trump, over the weekend on Meet the Press, called birthright citizenship ridiculous, and he says he will issue an executive order to end it. Can he do that, or does the 14th Amendment block that from happening?
He can do it, but the 14th Amendment blocks it from taking effect. So what he needs are like 3 more justices to make that happen. There is a Supreme Court case from I want to say 1898 and it's actually a very well-reasoned case. There was a dissent. It wasn't a unanimous opinion. So it's not like the people who say birthright citizenship isn't a thing are completely nuts. 2 Supreme Court justices agreed with them, including Justice Harlan, who was a very well-respected jurist from that time. It's decided. It's a well-reasoned opinion that goes into like feudal conceptions of like what happens when a country invades another country and takes over territory. What's the legal status of the people that the country has invaded? It's really complex stuff. The bottom line, though, is they're not going to reverse it. There is some debate. Wong Kim Ark, the guy that was the subject of that case, was the child of permanent residents, not people in the country illegally. So that's one potential distinction that people could draw. But given the reasoning of that opinion, I think it's going nowhere.
So is the TikTok on it that Trump might sign an executive order, it would be challenged, the courts would look at it and basically not support the executive order? Is that reverse the executive order?
Yeah, they're going to file they'll file for an injunction in the District Court of Hawaii, and it will immediately be enjoined. It'll go up to the Ninth Circuit, which will affirm the injunction, and the Supreme Court, I think, it'll be even unlikely to take the case up. Maybe you get a dissent from Justice Thomas, and maybe Gorsuch says, yeah, I'd like to revisit that case as well.
Well, Carl, I was looking into this. There's about 30 countries that have the same sort of birthright situation that we do now. It's not universal. So apart from the constitutional law, is it a good idea? I mean, should we revoke the whole idea of birthright citizenship, if we could? Just from a policy point of view, it's pretty popular. I think about 50% of
about half the
people
country,
I saw in a poll said that they would be for it.
Yeah, well, depends how it's worded, but 49 or 50%. Yeah, it's equally divided. And the question is, and the question asked in the polls usually is, should the children of the illegal aliens or people who are illegally be granted this right? Now, the 14th Amendment says, all persons born or naturalized in the United States. And then there's this funny clause in there, Sean knows it, and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States. There's a move in Congress now to by statutes, define that phrase, and subject jurisdictions thereof, meaning if you're an illegal immigrant, you're not subject to the jurisdiction. Seems like weird semantics to me, because we can't say we're going to deport them because they're not obeying our law and then say they're not subject to our laws. But as a practical matter, in a political matter, not a constitutional matter or a legal matter, because Sean's a lawyer, so I don't want to practice law without a license. But as a political matter, if a person is born here, let's just say, for the sake of argument, their mother was pregnant when she came here, or became pregnant shortly thereafter. This person, you're going to say this person is not a citizen of the United States. Well, what country are they a citizen of? They've never lived anywhere here. The kids who come here, some of them grow up, they don't speak any language other than English, and they speak American English, and they're Americans by outlook and temperament. And you're going to say, no, you're actually a citizen of Haiti. Well, I've never been to Haiti. So as a practical political matter, I think it's a very difficult thing to revoke, even if you could get a majority of the judges, I don't think it would be popular. You're asking people hypothetical now. If you started asking them in these individual cases, should children of these, if you were 8 months pregnant and your boyfriend was in a Venezuelan gang and he's taken over an apartment in Aurora, Colorado, should you be a citizen up here? It's easy to say, no, that person should be back in Venezuela. But that's not, most of these cases are the way it's happened for 200 years in this country. Their parents come here, they don't yet have papers, and they decide to start a family. And you're just not going to find any kind of majority or even close to that of the American people who think those people can't be called Americans.
But
and I think there's
you agree, Sean?
There's one other. I agree, but I think there's one other thing that goes around all this: the deportations and everything. It's like 2015 called and it wants its Republican coalition back. You know, Donald Trump almost carried Hispanics. He carried them in Texas. As a matter of fact, I went back and I did the math, and if non-white voters in Texas had voted the same way they voted back in 2008, Trump would have lost Texas. And if they voted the way that they voted in 2016 in Texas, he would have only won it by a point. The GOP has bled out among college-educated white voters, and it has offset them by making gains with a lot of these voters that the great replacement theorists now want to kick out of the country. That's another reason that's politically crazy. This is the future of the GOP.
Well, I guess what animates part of this is this whole idea of anchor babies, which is, the sort of that people actually come here to have a baby here in order to sort of anchor their family here with people say that's a myth. I'm sure it happens. I don't know how often it happens. But the politics of this, I think, are interesting too, because the accusation is that by going after this aspect of immigration, is apart from going after sort of recent illegals or going after criminals, especially, that Trump and Stephen Miller, his sort of aide-de-camp on this stuff, that they actually want to cut legal immigration as well, Carl. That's at least what some of the critics are saying. What do you make of that argument?
Well, it's really two arguments. The anchor babies thing, it's not a myth. It happens. It's just rare. A lot of people come here from China, and they're not sending women here to have babies and then move them back to China. They're hoping to, anchor is a key word. They're hoping to get call them foothold babies. They're hoping to get a foothold in America. That's what we've always encouraged. But in terms of cutting illegal immigration, this country accepts between 1 million and 1.5 million legal immigrants every year, and has for 40 years. And almost all of them come from Africa, Asia, and Latin America, and Mexico. And so to say this is a racist country is frivolous, really. But Donald Trump has made it clear, in his all caps, his signature all caps tweets and stuff, that he's talking about illegal immigration, not legal immigration. I suppose if you get into this and you had what this term of art on Capitol, comprehensive immigration reform. Comprehensive immigration reform might include legal immigration too. And you might, and then the country could ask itself, we're taking between 1 million and 1.5 million people a year. Is that the right amount? Is it too many? Is it too few? Are we using the right criteria? Now we have this family unification, we call it. Critics call it chain migration. Is that or we should take people with skills? If you're going to do comprehensive immigration reform, and the Democrats, when they're out of power, say they want that, and when they're in power, don't do anything about it, you would probably add legal immigration to the mix. But there's no evidence Donald Trump wants to cut this for racial reasons. He hasn't said anything like that.
Yeah. Sean, what do you think we'll end up with here? Will we have comprehensive immigration reform anytime soon?
I think it's tough, unless Republicans are willing to nuke the filibuster over this. Like you're just not going to find the compromise. I think is kind of what Carl was alluding to, that you change the immigration thresholds to entice more kind of highly educated tech workers and such. Now, that's actually like turns our modern immigration program into the Great Replacement, because it's the kind of more downscale immigrants who care about the social issues and are moving towards the GOP. But setting that, I mean, I know I'm not supposed to swear on this program, so I won't say what I really think about Stephen Miller and that crew. But it's just stupid. But look, that type of compromise is very difficult to hammer out, and it's just kind of ironic because both parties are taking a theory of their coalition to the table that's actually the opposite of what it actually is, but it's just been it's informed their traditional views on the immigration issue. So I'm skeptical anything's getting through. The parties are just too far apart.
The last time we had a chance for it was 2007.
Right.
No, excuse me, 2004. Bush was president, and it was killed by a filibuster, a poison pill amendment that Barack Obama, a young freshman senator, voted for, and Ted Kennedy begged him not to do it. And you would have had a path to citizenship for dreamers and some quotas, some real enforcement on the border. And when it came down to it, they didn't want Bush or John McCain to get any credit for it, and it didn't happen.
What might happen as we kind of talk it through, you might get more money for border enforcement, and in a reconciliation package that can pass the Senate with 50 votes. But as far as getting, actual changes to the immigration policy, and look, I'm one of those guys. I think the solution to illegal immigration is more legal immigration. But the actual getting some kind of comprehensive package, I just don't happen. I don't see it happening. The Republicans will just like the Democrats were able to get a bill through with 50% that doubled the size of the IRS. The GOPs will just double the size of the Border Patrol.
Right. Okay. Well, gentlemen, we've got to leave it there for a second. And Sean, I appreciate you not working blue on the show today. That does happen occasionally. But Tom Bevan isn't here today to sort of.
No, Tom. It's the Tom Bevan codicil. He
Anyway, you're listening to Real Clear Politics, and we'll be right back after this.